Well, hello there. Chef Tush coming at you. I thought I'd do a little bit of a public service announcement to start this video. So you're probably going to recognize in this video that I've kind of jumped around as far as the timeline is concerned. Primarily because I wanted to get the stainless steel bumpers installed on the car as a two-part series. So I've done a bunch of other little things in the meantime, kind of working around the bumpers. So I put them together in this video here. So it's kind of a back to the future kind of video. So don't worry about the timelines. Just wanted to show you that I've got some of the other things checked off the list, and we've still got more to accomplish, but we'll get her done. All right, back to the live action. All right, guys, welcome back to the garage. Now Monday afternoon, and we're just out to do a little bit of tinkering on the car. So it's these smaller jobs that seem to take the most time. Today I've been playing around with getting the trim panels back in the rear of the car. So we've got the backboard back in and the side panels on almost. I need to do a couple of fasteners up on the lower panels, but that's kind of a little bit of a difficult, tricky installation, as those panels need to fit up inside a seal there, or a channel inside the Surrey backlight. So that can be a little bit challenging. It was a little bit frustrating to do, but we managed to get it. I did install the door seals, and these are the original seals to the car. So they are nicely pre-compressed in all the right locations. It's usually pretty tricky to get it into this area down here and this area up here. So the only unfortunate thing with these, they're a tiny bit short. They are maybe half an inch too short. So we're going to do a little play around and maybe put a piece of black vinyl there, because we're not going to go to the effort and expense of buying brand new seals when these seals are usable. So I still have one more seal to go in here that I do not have, so I'll have to order that and wait for it to come, but we'll get that installed eventually. The other thing I did today was I did up the fasteners on the bottom of the windscreen. So there's a post that basically needs to be fastened. So I've fastened the two nylock nuts on either side for the bottom post attachments, and then there's also some internal attachments that attach the windscreen to the body tub, as well as this attachment up here. So the windscreen is on nice and tight. I did snug these 3 bolts back down across the top because they had loosened once I pulled the windscreen all the way down with the post nuts. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. I removed the seat on this side just to get a little bit more access playing around in the rear of the car. I'm going to be removing that seat anyway, so we can do the forward install of the carpet kit and the kick panels, etc., and the door panels eventually. So we're just going through a few, like I said, small jobs, and finding more stuff along the way as we go. I did manage to pick up a small box of parts last week from Moss Motors, and these are some sort of small detail items that I was missing. In particular, I had the actual arms for the windshield wipers. I didn't have the blades. So chrome arms, I believe, are correct for this car, and we've got the chrome blades here as well. So we're going to go ahead and put those on shortly, and we'll check that off the list. Some of the other items I got was a seal kit for the transmission tunnel. We'll put that to good use shortly. I got new positive and negative battery cables. We'll put that to good use shortly. And then a bunch of small hardware type items here. We've got a decal or decal for the escutcheons. We've got some wiring connectors for when I start to do my wiring. Just figured it'd be good to have a few new ones. So there's doubles, there's singles as well, just to have on hand. I bought these, not sure what these actually are. They're classified as a bush. I thought these might be for the Surrey top backlight, maybe the soft top bows, but those aren't going to work, so I'm actually not even sure where those would even be used on this car. They may not even be for this car, so we'll figure that out at a later date. Anyway, we've got some of those. These are the screws, nuts and retainers for the firewall where the transmission front cover fits to, so I've got to affix those to the bulkhead in order to fix that transmission tunnel covered up there. That looks like a lot of fun. What else did I get? Oh, this is just some clips, P-clips they call them. This is to run my vacuum hose across the top of my valve cover. Thought that would probably be a better route, and these will look good up there. What else did I get? Oh, the door check strap boots, what I haven't installed yet. I'm going to be doing that shortly. I am getting worried about pushing the door out too far as I'm working on the interior and creasing the paint you can actually, if your check strap breaks, the door will actually swing open and hit the side of your front fender here. So we don't want that to happen. That would be a disaster. So we're going to add our check straps sooner than later in order for that not to happen. And we got a few bulbs here for our side marker lights here up top, just in case we need to change those out once we get those powered up. So again, just a few small parts. I'm kind of ordering as we go along as per the need. And I've actually got another little small parts order in awaiting me to push the button for that to go to Moss, but we'll wait for a little bit longer to add to the list. Alright, we are just about to affix our door check straps to the car. These are Moss part number 803030. Obviously 2 required, one for drivers, one for passenger side. They are affixed to the A-post with this little guide here that is riveted to the car with these little rivets. So fortunately I did not remove mine from the car when I had it painted, so those are still affixed to the car. They can be a little bit difficult to attach in my mind. Normally what I would do is, instead of using the rivets, I would just use a small screw and nut, but your mileage may vary on that. You can do whatever you wish. I've got new gaiters here, new hardware to secure the gaiters, so we'll go ahead and we'll install these now. These are the items that keep the door from swinging too wide, as mentioned, and when they are swung open they are actually locked in place. You'll hear a loud audible click, almost like a gunshot if you're not familiar with these cars. It's quite shocking to hear these open. I'm not sure how loud this set will be, but some are louder than others. So let's get these installed and we'll see how they work. Alright, door check straps are installed and they look something like that. So let's see how they actually operate. Let me get the door shut here first. Alright, gotta tighten that mirror up. Ready for it? There you go. They are working. On to the next guys, Tuesday night out in the garage, and we're just waiting for another big storm. We have a storm watch in effect. Should probably hit here around 10 p.m. or so, so I'll probably be inside by then. I spent the day or the evening out here cleaning up the garage. On the left hand side, as you can see, is pretty empty now, with the exception of the bumper that I'm just about to start getting the brackets off of to refinish those for the arrival of my new bumpers, which I thought might be coming tonight, but apparently that's been delayed. They're now in Memphis at least, so they're in the US, so they've traveled from Vietnam to Singapore to Memphis, so I think the next stop will probably be Toronto. And then obviously they'll have to be shipped out from the FedEx location in Toronto to my place north of the city. So I don't really expect them for another couple of days, but at least we'll get the bracketry ready that we have on this bumper. Well, to be honest with you, I don't feel like doing anything more this evening, so I think I'm going to take a bit of a break from the car. And we're just going to hang out in the garage and wait for the storm to arrive. Have a little drink. Got the ball game on the iPad, so we'll just sit out here, admire the car, and watch the ball game. Sound like a good evening? It does to me. There's only one problem with my plan. This bumper's sitting over here staring at me, so I'm going to have to break down and at least take the brackets off. So here's what it looks like before. Pretty rusty, and as mentioned, I'm missing a bracket actually, so there'd be another bracket that comes from this location here and then comes back and picks up the frame on the opposite side. So this sits on one side of the frame, and then there's another bar that fits on the other side. So I'm missing that entire bar on both sides. You can see the stud for it on this side as well. Anyway, we're going to take off the brackets that we do have, and we'll take off the lights. These were not actually hooked up on the car previously. They were just bundled up behind the bracket, so we'll have to get these hooked up. I do believe I have new ones of these somewhere in my parts bin, so I'll have to source those out. But we'll take them off the bumperettes anyway, and I'll probably need the actual wiring harness part because I believe I just have the bulbs, but we'll check. Alright, so let's get these rusty brackets off and we'll get them ready to be scrubbed down probably tomorrow. Alright, the brackets are off the bumper, and it wasn't as easy as I anticipated. Those bottom brackets were seized in there pretty good, so I had to get the heat wrench out. So they are off and in one piece, which is good. So cute little glass lenses again. Love that. Those are actual glass lenses. So we'll probably try to reutilize those if we can. The harnesses actually look to be in good shape, which is good. Anyway, we'll get those brackets cleaned up and ready to go on the new bumpers whenever they arrive. Alright guys, now Wednesday, and we're picking it up where we left off, and that was with the deconstruction of the rear bumper yesterday. And we're just getting ready to sandblast these brackets here that I have just on top of the car, along with these little spacers or distance pieces for the brackets. Missing one of those, so we'll have to figure out what we're going to do as far as that's concerned. And I'm going to try to see if I can save these domed chrome bolts. This one's getting a little thin, but I may be able to clean this up and rethread it. I doubt that the new bumpers will come with the new chrome bolts, so we'll figure that out. I might actually have another bumper. I think I have another bumper downstairs. I'll just have to wait and see if I've actually got the components for the bumper. I've also got another bumper in behind here, which is from a TR3, and it may have something that I can utilize as well. So anyway, we'll figure something out. But the first thing we need to do is get these things sandblasted and into paint. So that's what we're going to do. So we've got the bucket outside, we've got the blaster charged up. So we'll go ahead and we'll put the hood on and we'll get these blasted best we can. Alright, the first bar is done through media blasting. I'm using crushed glass to do this, so just wanted to give you a heads up. So I do wire brush the pieces prior to going to the media blasting. Just takes a little bit less effort and a little bit less media to get them cleaned up. But that's as best as you can get with a wire brush, something that looks like that. So obviously sandblasting is a preferred method. If you've got a bucket and some media, you can do a little bit nicer work than you can cleaning parts up, as far as just using the wire brush is concerned. So there's the wire brush, and there's the blasted piece afterwards, and you can see it's night and day. Alright, got my Christmas tree set up outside, and we're just about to hit these with a coat of primer, and we'll follow it with some gloss black or semi-gloss black, and get those parts into paint. So red oxide primer first, and we'll follow it up with a black. Alright, bumper update. Just checked the tracking, and the bumpers are apparently in Markham, Ontario, which is not far away actually, and it's supposed to be here by 5 p.m. Again, I saw tracking that said yesterday at 5 p.m., so not getting my hopes up, but at least they're getting closer. So anyway, stay tuned for that. I'll be excited to see those when they arrive. So in the meantime, we'll just continue on out here in the garage. I don't think I showed you, but those parts are painted now black, and they're just out here in the somewhat sun drying, so those will be good to go once the bumpers do come in. And again, as I mentioned, we'll have to fabricate a bracket to go along with those. I did tap out those studs, the chrome bolts actually. They're sitting here, so underneath my grill that I'm getting ready to play with. So those are good to go, I think. So we'll see what kind of hardware we get with these bumpers. I suspect we'll get nothing. I do have a bumper mounting kit, a stainless kit. I know at least for the rear bumper from Grove Components in the UK, we'll dig that out and put that to good use. So yeah, it's coming together. Alright, another small job checked off the list. The grill is now installed, so hopefully that doesn't impede us getting to the wiring down below. We have a little bit of access on the nose here, and of course the TR250 doesn't have a radiator shroud, so we should be able to reach down. So I may have to utilize the small hands man again to help me with the wiring in that area, but he'll be here guiding me anyway. So that looks good. Another thing checked off the list. Let's move on. Oh, trim rings for the lights. They fit horribly. They are very loose, so I think we're going to be looking at getting some new trim rings or figuring out a way to fasten those a little bit more solidly, because they're just going to fall off or rattle. Alright, we'll go ahead and we'll install our negative battery cable, and not only does it get hooked up to the post, it actually has a ground location on the body tub against the firewall, and then it grounds on one of the studs on the engine block to transmission mount. So we'll go ahead and we will install that now. We're going to have to clean off the ground location, which is just about here, just below this accelerator shaft. I have to clean off that location a bit and tap that out, so that's going to be a little bit difficult. So I'm up for the challenge. All right, the new bumpers did not show up today as expected. Apparently now they're being delivered between 9 and 5 tomorrow, which is Thursday. So we'll wait for them, but in the meantime we can start working on the bracketry for the front bumper. We've got the rears all ready to go, and what I can do is strip off the brackets off the front bumper that I was going to use. This is a brand new bumper, but this is a chrome bumper versus the polished stainless steel that I'm getting. So we're going to match the rear stainless steel with the front stainless steel, so we won't be using this bumper. Maybe we'll be able to use it on a future TR4 project. We'll see. Anyway, we're going to strip the lights off, strip the custom brackets off. We'll get those painted up like those brackets there, and we'll get them ready to go back on the bumpers whenever they arrive. We'll be proactive. Alright guys, Thursday night out in the garage, and I'm happy to report that my bumpers did in fact show up today. However, I'm not going to be opening the box until the weekend. I'm just too tired after a long day at work to even start thinking about opening the box and getting them on the car. So we'll wait till at least tomorrow and into the weekend before we get that opened, and we'll inspect it carefully to make sure that they've arrived safely. So in the meantime, I think what I'm going to do today or tonight is I'm just going to go through my bins. I need to find the rear bumper mounting kit. I think I'd mentioned previously that I have a stainless steel mounting kit for the rear bumper from Grove Components, so I need to find that. So I think what I'll just do is I'll go through, I think I've got 2 bins left to go through of some parts, and we'll go through and we'll pull out what's required, not only for the rear bumpers, but it'll also give me an indicator what's left that I'm missing to do on the car outside of my list. So I think that's all I'm going to do tonight, is just do some more organizational stuff. Nothing too heavy lifting tonight, as I'm just not into it out here. So I'll just sit and go through the bins and relax and listen to some tunes, and that'll be the night for me. We'll get back out here tomorrow, and we'll make it a longer evening tomorrow and get into the weekend's festivities. Alright, just doing a little bit of organizing out in the garage, and I'm happy to say that I'm pretty much down to no bins left. I've got a couple of boxes, 1 box there, and 1 box of just miscellaneous random stuff here that I might need. So primarily 1 box at the back there that needs to go on the car. The rest are just kind of extra fasteners and fittings and grommets and that kind of stuff. This is just extra fasteners that I might need. So really just down to 1 box at the rear to go back on the car. So here is the fitting kit for the rear bumper. A stainless steel fitting kit. This is from Grove Components in the UK. And at this stage of the restoration, it's kind of nice to see that I've got a brand new kit to do the install on the rear bumper versus this old ragtag bunch of hardware that came off, including these spacers here, which are obviously homemade. So I'm not sure why those spacers were required. I think it's probably because if you go back and look at the earlier videos, you will see that the fenders that were on this car were actually TR6 fenders that had been modified. So they may have needed these spacers to bridge some gaps in the rear fender attachment at the sides, where the sides of the fenders bolt up to the brackets on the inside that attach to the frame. So anyway, I'm happy to have this new hardware, including some new domed chromed bolts. So those will go a long way. I'm kind of wishing that I had a couple more of those, but I guess there's only 2 required for the rear kit. We'll wait and see whether those are actually required. I know that 2 came off. So anyway, good to have the kit ready to go. I do have the front bumper hardware over there. Unfortunately, I didn't buy a stainless kit for that, but it's much less involved for the front bumper. I believe it's only 2 bolts actually, because I'm not going to be using the overriders for the front. So I think it's only 2 bolts I'm required to attach the front bumpers with, and I have something for that. Alright, so that's it for now, guys. We'll get ready, like I said, to put these bumpers on the car. Most likely tomorrow. Bracketry is waiting there, ready to go. So we'll get home from work and we'll unpack those bumpers and have a look, and hopefully we'll get them on the car. I probably need some assistance, maybe from Les or from Ellen. We'll see, unless I can rig something up. Maybe get some milk crates to support it. I really don't want to scratch the car, so we'll wait and see. If I think I can do it myself, I'll do it. If not, then I'll definitely get some help. All right, that's it for tonight, guys. We'll see you back out here tomorrow night, Friday. Alright guys, welcome back to the garage. Sunday, September the 19th, 2021. And today would have been British Car Day here in Toronto, hosted by the Toronto Triumph Club. Unfortunately, that was cancelled this year and the previous year due to COVID. So we're looking forward to attending that in 2022. Hopefully things will be improved by then. Anyway, we finished the bumper project yesterday, and those are looking very good. Still obviously need to run all the wiring as mentioned yesterday, but we'll get to that eventually. It's looking like next Saturday might be the wiring day, so hopefully that will happen and we can get all the wiring tied up in this project and move on to something else. That's going to be pretty close to the end of the project, I would say, if we get the wiring done. So we've got a few things to do before we get to that point. First thing I'm going to do today though is I'm going to clean the garage up and get this a little bit more organized, so we can move on to the next item on the list, and that will be installing a new steering wheel today. So we're going to get rid of the old jumbo wheel. That is kind of a mystery wheel. I think that might be from a GT6 or possibly a TR4. Not quite sure, but I'm going to definitely need a new wheel. Got one over there that we're going to install today. So we'll do that together. Alright, the garage is a little bit more clean and organized. The tools are put away. So I'm now de-stressed, and now I can move on to the next part of the project, and that is to talk about the steering wheel. So as mentioned, I did buy a new wheel for this project. The existing wheel that's on the car is just a little bit too old, a little bit too shabby, and a little bit too big for me to deal with. So we've gone ahead and invested in a new wheel, and I'll show you in just a second. I did buy a Spring-Alex wheel, which is the sort of mid-priced wheel, let's say. It's definitely not the most expensive by far. It's sort of mid-priced, as I'd mentioned. It's not the cheapest, but not most expensive. So it's something that I think will look good on the car in the end and will be functional. So there's the part number from Spring-Alex for this car. And of course, you need to get the accompanying Boss as well. So here's the Boss part number that fits the TR250 and TR5, TR6, I believe, and probably others as well, probably TR4. But you'd have to do your own research on that. So there is the Boss part number. So of course you need to buy the Boss to fit the wheel. So here is the aforementioned wheel and Boss. So it's a 13-inch. It's supposed to be 13-inch, but if I measure this, it's probably more like about 13.5-inch. The stock wheel is, I think, on the 250 a 15-inch diameter wheel, so it's obviously slightly smaller, and that's something I need because of my size. It gives me a bit more room in the cockpit. So on the TR6, for example, I have a 13-inch Modellita, and that's just about the right size for me. So I probably could have gone with a 14-inch wheel because the seats in the TR250 sort of seem to sit a little bit lower and a little bit further back. So I probably could have gone with a 14-inch wheel, but anyway, we're with the 13-inch wheel. I decided to go with the all black versus the polished spokes. I thought it would go more well with the theme of the car, but I'll let you decide that. So here's the wheel and the aforementioned Boss kit below. So it is a nice feeling Boss. It's not plastic at all. It's quite a solid piece of metal. So happy with that. It actually has the holes for the horn brush to fit through. So I'm happy with that. It does have the wiring capability on the back of the cap for the horn push. So we'll need a small length of wire to hook the horn up. And we'll do that when we do the wiring. I'm not opposed to the Triumph Shield. Obviously, it's not really the correct era, let's say, for the TR250. But I do like the earlier Triumph Shield logo, so don't have a problem with that either. Anyway, I do have one more option to show you, and you can tell me in the comments which option you prefer. I'm sort of undecided. I'm leaning towards, obviously, the black brand new wheel, but let me show you one more option that I had in-house already. I should mention that there are two different options for this Spring-Alex wheel as well. You can get either a vinyl grip, which is cheaper, or you can get the leather grip. In this case, I've gone with a leather grip. I'm looking for some longevity out of this wheel, so I figured the leather would be better in the end. Anyway, here is the other option for a steering wheel. This is a Mountney steering wheel, and again, it's quite a bit more blingy than the Spring-Alex wheel that I just showed you. So this is a little bit older wheel. It is made by Mountney. It is a true 13-inch wheel, so it is a little bit smaller than the Spring-Alex. And it fits the same Boss actually as the Spring-Alex. I think they might be even made by the same company, I'm not sure. But that Spring-Alex Boss has sort of a multiple universal attachment for many different wheels. So there is the Mountney wheel. The thing I do like about it is a thicker grip on the actual wheel. So it's got a nicer sort of thicker grip on it. But I suspect, like you'll probably like the black spokes versus the chromed finish, and you may like the more classic style, let's say, of the spoked versus the slotted and chromed look. So it'd be interesting to hear your opinion on the wheels. Some of you might like this wheel a little bit better, but those are the two options I have for wheels. So I'm going to put one of them on the car today, and we'll figure out which one we like better. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to install the new Spring-Alex wheel first. Now, I just wanted to share one thing with you before I do that. So as part of the Boss kit, they do send you the attachment pieces, so these small screws, but as you can see, they are chromed Phillip head screws, and I don't really like the look of these, particularly because I don't, you know, I've obviously gone with a black theme here, and when you put these screws in, first of all, they look very cheap. Second of all, I don't like the chrome, so I've decided to go with something a little bit different. So I bought these, what are these called? Socket head cap screws in black. So we're probably going to go with these. I think that'll look a little nicer and a little bit more finished. So these are going to be a little bit too long, obviously, and even these are too long. The ones that they supplied are quite a bit longer than they need to be. So I bought some Dremel wheels, and you've always, probably if you watch my videos for a while, you've heard me complain about how expensive these are. They're fantastic as far as usability is concerned with that Easy Lock system, but they're incredibly expensive for what they are. Anyway, we'll probably have to trim these screws back because they're going to be too long. That is the shortest I could find, unfortunately, at my local parts store. So we're going to utilize those. I think that'll look a little bit better than these chrome screws. So we'll go ahead and we'll fix that Boss or hub or whatever you want to call it to the wheel, and then we'll come back. All right, we didn't shorten them too much. We just took a little off the end. So those should be good now. So I'm going to be using, unfortunately, I've got chromed nylocks. I couldn't get any black nuts for these at my local store. So we're going to be using chrome nylocks initially anyway, until I can find some black nuts. I'm not going to bother trying to paint these. That's a little over the top. So we'll just use the chrome or the zinc nylocks for now, and then we'll worry about it later. All right, I'm very happy with my decision to go with the black hex-headed bolts versus the chrome screws. So those turned out okay. There are the nylocks on the back with the shortened screws. Actually, I don't think they look too bad. You won't be able to really see them much on the car anyway when the wheel is mounted. So let's go ahead and do that now. Let's put it on the car and see what it looks like. All right, there is the current wheel that is on the car. And as mentioned, this is the wheel that came with the car. It is broken at the top here. I did break a little plastic piece out of the rear hub section. So like I said, it's seen better days. It's a little ratty. Obviously, it's been wrapped already once. So that is coming off, but I thought for those of you who may be just joining the project, that is the wheel that we're just about to replace. All right, in order to get your steering wheel off, there is the nut there that you need to get off. And a lot of you guys will probably not have this size socket in your selection, so you may have to buy an individual socket if you're looking to exchange your wheel. This is an 1/1/16 inch socket. Alright, if you've never had your steering wheel off the car, you might be unfamiliar with this piece. This is the horn brush, and I believe there are two different lengths of this. There's a long and a short version of this. So what happens, this fits under the cap, and it fits in a hole here in the Boss. You can see it just sort of sits in there. What happens is when you push the horn button, it pushes down this top here, which is a spring-loaded piece, and then it pushes the bottom contact piece onto the slip ring, which creates an electrical connection, and then that will sound the horn. Again, we've got a small piece of jumper wire to run from the bottom of the cap to the wire on the column, but that should be fairly simple. Anyway, let's get this on the car. All right, let's have a look at the new wheel and see if it meets your approval. There it is. Like I said, I think it matches the sort of theme of what I'm going for here on the interior with the black trim gauges. So I think it might look better than the actual chrome. You can actually see that my horn button matches my shifter knob. Now, the only thing is I have a billet shifter knob that I was going to use, but I might be second guessing myself. I kind of like the matching leather and medallions. So we'll have to wait and see whether we go with that or not. Anyway, I think that looks pretty good. Much better than what was on there. So it looks period correct as far as I'm concerned. So I think we'll end up sticking with that, but you can let me know. Let me go get the other wheel and just hold it up there. Here's the Mountney wheel. Hope that's going to be able to give you enough for comparison. So Mountney or Spring-Alex. Alright guys, it's been a little while since we've taken a look at the list, so let's see how we're doing as far as items checked off. So steering wheel is checked off, bumper installation is checked off, driving lights we're not going to worry about until the spring. We know we had an issue with the fitment of those. Brackets were obviously sandblasted, painted, so those were installed with the bumpers, so those are good. Wipers are installed. I think I took a little bit of video of that, so those are done. The grill fitting is accomplished. The door seals are now on. I'm not sure if I showed you that or not, but I can. Final wiring is planned for Saturday the 25th of September, so I've got a bunch of stuff to do here in the interim during the week. I am getting a little bit worried about my hardtop painting as I'm looking at the weather forecast, and it's getting pretty close to losing my window as far as getting temperatures to paint, and that's a little bit concerning to me, so that's going to have to be sooner than later. Anyway, so I think what we're going to do today is we are going to work on the interior bits. I did start on the interior and got the rear of the interior back in, so the dogleg panels over the rear wheel arches and the rear panel are back in. So I think today we're going to concentrate on the door panels. Alright, I have the door panels just sitting on the hood of the car, black with white piping. This is the Moss panel kit, the deluxe panel kit, part number 645-155. And again, big thank you to Moss for supplying this kit to me. I'll put a link to the previous video where I've utilized the panels to fit to the rear of the car, as mentioned previously. So again, handcrafted by, I think it's Letty. Anyway, we're going to put these to good use. We'll get them on the car. Alright, I threatened that I wasn't going to be doing this in a previous video, but I've broken down and actually bought some heavyweight plastic drop sheet and some mounting tape. And we are going to install a barrier between the door panel and the door, just as some added safety precautions to keep this door panel from warping in the future, should it get some moisture introduced to it. So that's what we're going to do first. Alright, I'm probably not going to take too much video of the installation of these panels. There's a couple gents on the internet who've already documented this very well. Mark and the old guy, Weg's Garage, did an excellent job of installing these same Moss panels on their Triumph TR4. They've got two videos out, installation video and then a tips and tricks video. I'll try and put links to those videos on the top of this video so you can go and check them out to see how these panels should be installed. The driver's side door panel is almost complete. Not quite completed yet because I'm going to need a hand putting the little pins in and the escutcheons in behind the handles. I just have them sitting on there temporarily. You kind of need two people, one to push in on the panel, one to slip the pin in. I do have a couple pairs of hemostats here that are going to help with those little pins, but like I said, we need somebody to push back on the panel while you try to slide that pin in. It's not exactly an easy task, so we'll get to that later. We've got the door pockets screwed in with the caps on, so that's looking good. There's always one fastener that seems not to want to fasten properly, and that was up in this corner over here. That was refusing to lock into place, so we'll come back and revisit that at a later point. We may have to put a screw in there. I think I put a screw in the TR6 with a cap on it to hide it. Just a little bit more effective holding. I know some people use Velcro or two-sided tape on these panels as well, so that's possibly an option, although that seems to need quite a bit of help in that corner. Alright, so that is done. Let's move on to the passenger side and repeat the process. Alright, passenger side door panel is on, and that went on a little bit easier. Maybe practice makes perfect. Still a pain in the butt though. So still the handles to go on this side as well, but those will go on at a later date. So things are looking good. And I guess we'll move on now to the next thing on the list. Let's go have a look and check to see what we want to do. Alright, next job up is the Scuttle vent flap, and we're going to see if we can rescue this. I don't think you'll be able, well, you might be able to see it in the camera. it's got a little bit of a haze to it. And I think what's happened is I've hammered this with clear before the previous layer was dry, so it's got a bit of a haze and a bit of a pebbling effect. So we're going to see if we can sand this down and rescue it. So I've got our wet and dry sandpaper standing by. We're going to start with 1,000 grit actually and work our way up to 2,500 and see if we can rescue this. If not, we can go ahead and repaint it. I don't want to have to repaint it, but I'll do what I have to do to make this right. So there's the before, and we'll come back and we'll show you the after we're done sanding. You can probably, I don't know if you can be able to pick that up in the camera or not. You probably can't because of the glare, but it's got a bit of a halo almost in the center of there. Anyway, we'll see if we can get that out. Alright guys, just coming up to 9 p.m. and unfortunately I think this is going to be unsavable. I can still see remnants of that marking in there that I'm not going to be able to get out. I'm down to 1,000 grit, so I basically, you know, I'm not that much shy of getting down to 600 grit in order to get this repainted. So I think that's what we're going to do. We'll break out the small paint gun, the small detail gun, and we'll give this a quick repaint and re-clear after we scratch it down to 600 grit. Sometimes you got to move backwards, but I'm not going to put on an inferior piece, so we got to make it right. I'm just glad it's a small piece. All right, we're going to call it a night out here, and we'll get back out here tomorrow and we'll continue on with this piece.